Alright. This is final attempt number 3. I don't think YouTube want me to live stream today, man. Trying. Your boy's trying, but YouTube is making it difficult. Well, at least this mobile app is making it difficult for me to go live. So we'll see if it hangs on this time. If not, then I'll just call it. Maybe I'll just make a video instead of going live. So, but we'll see. We shall see. Man, trying to take a little break from work. So, is it even worth it to get a degree? Yeah, I mean, I'm not anti. Let me read the question. So, man, I can't get your question back up. Well, that ain't cool. All right. Anyway, the question was, he said he's a junior in high school, I think, going towards a computer science degree. And is it even worth, with so many people being self-taught nowadays, is it even worth going to get a computer science degree? I would say computer science degrees definitely still have value, yeah. You know, there's a lot of infrastructure set up behind getting a CS degree, computer science degree. Do you need a computer science degree to write code and get paid for it? No, you don't. But there's a lot of different areas within the software development world, you know, where a CS degree can come in handy. You know, if you want to go real deep into programming, and the things you learn in computer science is a lot of theory behind how software works, like really going deep into it. You know, a lot of programmers, well, not a lot of the programmers that I'm familiar with and that I hang with in my circles, we do higher level programming. So working with higher level stuff, and we don't really go deep down to the metal, quote unquote, metal level where you're dealing with, you know, memory allocations and things of that sort. You know, we don't write in C or anything like that. So for JavaScript and stuff like that, I mean, you really can kind of teach yourself. Man, I don't like that the chat is not staying up. Your question comes up and then fades away really quick. So it's crazy for me to catch it. You said, so Treehouse is a good resource. Yeah. There's a lot of great online resources. I talked about it in my last live stream. I don't think I posted that up, though, the last live stream. I use primarily Treehouse, but that doesn't mean that Treehouse is the only resource that's out there. Treehouse and Code School are two that I used pretty heavily, but those two just happen to be the two that I fell across. There's a lot of great. I always draw a blank when somebody asks me what a great site is. Treehouse, Code School, Code Academy, Pluralsight has a lot of great programming stuff on there as well. Even Khan Academy has a lot of. They have a computer science track, I believe, where you can learn a lot of the theory as well. One of the drawbacks of being self-taught is that most self-taught people miss out on a lot of the theory that you'll learn by going to college and getting a computer science degree, where you learn about, I don't know, linked lists and all kinds of data structures and algorithms and stuff like that. What's going on, Faded? What's up, man? You didn't get a lot of that information by being self-taught. You know, you learn how to do the work, but you didn't necessarily learn all of the theory behind the work. But nowadays, what's up, Bishop? I see you. Um, Nowadays with places like Khan Academy, they'll actually teach you the theory and stuff behind it as well. What's the hardest thing about learning the code? Like your beginning process of learning the code. The hardest part for me, man, I remember those beginning days when I was just sitting in the Starbucks or, sitting in the cafeteria at work. I kind of feel like it's a cop-out answer, but you kind of don't know what you don't know in the beginning. And it's so frustrating because you're learning all of these like abstract things, right? You're learning this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing, and you don't know how they all tie together. And that was the toughest part for me. Currently, oh man, it faded away. I don't like that. Oh, there we go. I got them back. Okay, cool. Currently enrolled as a cybersecurity major. Oh, that's cool. That's cool, man. Cybersecurity is definitely a big deal. With the whole, everybody's getting hacked nowadays. The big Target hack that happened, the big Equifax hack that just happened, and basically they hacked like 60% of the adults in the U.S. So cybersecurity is definitely a big deal, man. And I think there's a lot of job security in that whole realm if you go for cybersecurity. So I wouldn't feel bad there. But definitely back to your question about, hold on. I'm on the self-taught journey now. Some things come easy and some things suck because there are so many resources you don't know what to stick to because things change so much in the industry. That's true. But if you focus on the core fundamentals, those things really don't change. The hot new framework will change very quickly in the industry, but the strategies and theories behind how you accomplish things don't necessarily change that bitch. If you got your core foundational programming concepts down, then yeah, the hot new framework will change, but you'll still know how to program. You'll have to learn the outside fringes of how you make this thing work with this particular framework, but all the core stuff you'll know, and you'll be able to transition between them a lot easier. So, I wouldn't sweat it that much. Just really focus on the core stuff. Like for me, from a JavaScript standpoint, because that's mostly what I deal with nowadays, I work primarily in a framework called AngularJS. That's how I make my money. The big JavaScript frameworks are Angular, React, Ember, a little bit of Vue.js going on there too. I guess you can say are kind of the big four. But if you know how to program just plain vanilla JavaScript, then you can go between any of those. All a framework is somebody else went on their own and wrote a bunch of code and a bunch of functions in JavaScript that would keep you from having to come up with those solutions for common problems. Like making HTTP requests from a client computer to a server somewhere, retrieving information, pulling that information back and doing some processing on it. Yes, you can handwrite that in vanilla JavaScript, but somebody else has already written that in a framework and incorporated that into the framework, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. So if you know those basic concepts of making HTTP requests or XHR requests out and getting information back and doing something to it, then you're good to go. I don't like the Java in school. Seems like they just touched the surface and it's not like I retained much. The past few semesters I did some intro to Java. I'm considering the software developer route. Yeah, faded. A lot of schools teach Java. They teach Java and usually C++ in colleges. So they spit out a lot of Java developers. The good thing is there's a lot of Java work because so many big enterprises use Java as a back-end or processing language. You're going to find Java all over like big enterprise. Like most of your financial institutions and your banks and stuff like that. All of that code, I don't want to say guarantee, but it's a pretty strong probability that the code that your bank is running off of, the back end in there probably has a whole lot of Java running back there. You know, it was just a popular language for a big enterprise back in the day. So, so there's a ton of code out there to be maintained. You'll always have work if you program in Java. You know, those guys always have work, and they get paid pretty decently as well. You know, because they're usually dealing with some important stuff. You know. My teacher was telling me that app developers get paid around $500,000 to make an app for a big company such as Smoothie King. Is that true? Man, $500,000. I don't know if he means like app, like a phone application, like an iOS app or Android application. $500,000. I'm sure there are people out there that make it, you know. I don't know any one developer that gets paid, you know, $500,000 to make an app. Maybe if you could make an app from beginning to end, you know, by yourself type deal, you could look up and find some big successful company that would pay you that. But most of the time they're going to be hiring a team because they want things done in a very quick time frame. So they might very well pay $500,000 for an application, but that's usually going to go to a company, group of developers, and not a one single solo developer. You know, you will find a lot of freelance solo developers that do work, and that can charge, you know, $100 plus an hour to do that work. But that's not, I wouldn't say that's the quote unquote norm. And that's a whole different ball game is when you get into freelancing, because you straddle the fence between just being a developer and being a business owner as well. Because you got to know how to run your books and your financials. You got to do client acquisition, how to keep your pipeline of clients filled. It's great if you're getting paid $100 an hour to work, but you do $100 an hour and then you're focused so much on programming that you're not out there hunting for new clients. And then you finish that project and then you go 2, 3, 4 months before you get the next client. Even though you're making $100 an hour, it kind of averages out over the year to where you're probably making half that. If you're only working 6 months out of the year, making $100 an hour, that's really $50 an hour for the whole year type thing. So there's you can make a lot of money freelancing, but you really got to be good about your business if you want to be a freelance developer. But there's a lot of money out there to be made doing freelance stuff, definitely. Let's see. Java seems extremely tedious. How is it in the real world working on projects? Java can be, I guess, Java can be tedious. Java is a strictly typed language, so everything in the language has to have a type. So that can add to a lot of kind of overhead, because you have to make sure, you know, everything is typed. Now you get the benefit of strict typing in that you find a lot of your errors in your code before you ever even have to compile the program or run the program, because everything is strictly typed. And IDEs can do static analysis and be able to point out errors and stuff in your code a lot easier because of those types and stuff. So, but like I said, there's a lot of work out there in Java, and you get paid pretty good to write Java code. I mean, even here in Vegas, when Barclay, I was working at Allegiant Airlines, and Barclay, whose headquarters is up in Seattle or Washington State somewhere, they opened a satellite office down here, and they made an offer to the guy that used to sit next to me, was a Java developer, and they made an offer to him for like $150,000. And in Vegas, most developers ain't getting paid $150,000 when you're a W-2 employee. Like I said, in Vegas, you kind of cap out around that $100,000 mark if you want to program in Vegas, you know. So to be at 150, that's like, that was a lot of money. That's a lot of money for Vegas, you know, to be able to do that. And he was a Java developer, and they needed Java developers. Barclay, that's a financial institution. Like I said, they have the Barclay credit cards and all that stuff, and they pay big money for Java developers to because you're dealing with very critical information and they need to make sure everything works right. So they'll pay big money for like a senior level developer. What made you get into your profession? BB. I'm probably gonna have to step away for just a second. I've been waiting on the UPS guy to show up to pick up a package, and he just pulled up outside. Of course, right in the middle of my live stream. To get into my profession, let me show you what I'm looking at. So right out there, I don't know if you can see that UPS truck, but he's about to come and get his package. There you go. I think he got it. He figuring it out on his own. Yeah, he's got it. He got it. Will I post this feed? Hey, yeah, I'll post it, fam. If you gotta run, that's all good. All right. That's cool. I'll post it up again. I didn't post the other one, but I'll post this one. Let me make sure he's good. Make sure the UPS got good. You good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. All right, cool. He's cool. Little bitty skinny guy. He'd be making deliveries here. One day he had a whole pile of boxes. My lady had been online shopping. He came with a whole pile of boxes, man. That thing went up as big as he was. He couldn't even see where he was going. A little skinny guy. But he works really hard, man. So I like the little UPS guy. Anyway, let me get back to this thing. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, what made you get into your profession? I kind of told that story on a couple of my videos. Quick rundown. Man, long way around. It's kind of a long story. All right, to make it short, I was in the military. I got out the military kind of unexpectedly because they wouldn't let me cross-train. I was actually trying to do programming in the military. I was doing avionics on F-15 fighter jets. So working on computers and electronics on F-15 fighter jets, which was cool, but that's not what I was passionate about. I was good at it, which ended up being a curse because they wouldn't let me cross-train. And the straw that broke the camel's back was I asked to cross-train into programming, and I got denied. And my flight chief, which is like my boss, told me, we need you. And another guy who actually two other guys who were like lazy, didn't want to do anything. They got approved to cross-train because they kind of wanted those guys out of there gone anyway because they were lazy and not doing anything. And I that didn't sit right with me, you know. I got penalized for busting my butt and doing a good job. So after that, I was like, I'm done with this. I'm out of here, you know. So I didn't re-enlist, and I didn't really have a plan afterwards. So I got out, did real estate for a while till that dried up, doing REO stuff. Went back to school for audio production. Got to the end of the program. This was my mistake. Got to the end of the program and found out that the only job I could get was a job paying, entry-level positions were starting out here in Vegas about $12 an hour. I was working down on the strip of the hotel at the front desk making $16 an hour down there. So that's a $4 an hour pay cut just to say I'm using my degree. So I circled back around and said, what would I want to do that would pay me well and that I would be happy to do? And it came back around the program. I kind of have three big passions. One was music, which is why I went to school for audio production or audio engineering. Another one was cars. I love tinkering around on cars, but I would never want to do that for a profession. I don't want to be a mechanic, but I like to do it on my own. And the last one was computers. I've always found computers fascinating. When I graduated high school, I went to junior college where I was at for a management information systems degree with an emphasis in programming. It was way back in 1999. Kind of tell you how old I am. But I wasn't ready for college. You know, I was young and dumb and full of you know what. But I was running around chasing girls and partying, man, and I wasn't focused on my grades. I had a partial academic scholarship, and I effed it off so bad that I ended up getting on probation for that and ended up losing my scholarship because my GPA dropped so low and got so bad that it was about to kick me out of school. So I just dropped out and quit. And long story around, I went through a bunch of stuff after that. Went to Memphis and, struggling boarding houses, staying in boarding houses with crackheads and winos and just one of the lowest points in my life type thing. But I ended up talking to my sister who had been in the Air Force and hung up the phone from her, called a recruiter and told him to come get me. He came and got me. I went to the Air Force. That's how I ended up in the Air Force, military, and all that stuff. And that's how I circled back around and got back into programming. Didn't want to go back to college for programming because I had just went through college for audio and not using that degree, racked up a bunch of student debt. So I started to teach myself. I said, well, I'm going to see what type of resources are available online. I'm going to teach myself, how to program online, give myself a shot. I gave myself I said, I'm going to go really hard for a year and see where I get. And I got the old lady to buy into it. And, I busted my butt for a year. And 10 months after I had kind of really got started going hard, I got a gig. I won't say that'll happen for everybody. I've heard of people getting a job, though, within 1 month of learning the program. And it's what do you even know within 1 month of learning the program? I didn't know. I studied for almost a year, and I didn't know nothing. I would not have paid me to program at that first job that paid me to program, because I really didn't know anything when I look back into it. I'm sure every line of code that I wrote had to be rewritten after I left that place, But hey, it only takes that first opportunity to get your foot in the door, and that's all it takes. So that's how I got into my profession. Am I still using Angular 1 or moved on to using Angular 4? Angular 4 all the way, man. The first job I had was using Angular. Actually, the first two jobs I had at Allegiant and then the small startup I worked at were both Angular 1. And then the place after that had transitioned to then Angular 2, which is now progressed to Angular 4. So I'm doing all Angular 4 stuff now with NGRX for state management, like Redux in Angular together type thing. So it's cool and I love it. I'm very comfortable in that world. I recently did a fresh start of my studies, so I'm doing Code Academy, then going to look in the Treehouse and Khan Academy. Yeah, that's cool, man. Code Academy got some good stuff. Any of those places are great. Most of them are tailored towards beginners, so you really can't go wrong at any of them. You start running into the selection starts to really whittle down when you get past the beginner stage, but when you're just starting out, all of those places are good because they're all going to cover the basics really good. So just find one place that has a style that you really like and stick with it and just go full out, man. So that's cool. BB, thank you for your inspirational story, and we'll use that life experience towards mine to progress in life faster and towards my goal. Yeah, man. Hey, thank you for checking it out. I just post these things and do these things. I get lazy and I'll be sitting here man, I haven't put out a video in a while, but I don't feel like what I'm doing is all that crazy and special. But at the same time, every time I do a video or a live, I get reminded that somebody does find value out of it. So I appreciate you checking it out, man, and I'll keep posting them as long as people's cool with it or they want the knowledge and information. If I can help somebody out, that'll be a big one because I did it all by myself. I wish there was somebody out there I could talk to when I was going through this process because I literally didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't even know any programmers or developers, on a one-on-one basis that I could call and talk to about anything. When I was teaching myself. So it was like a long, dark, lonely road until I got that first gig. And that's when I really started meeting more and more programmers is from doing that. Or when I started going to meetups and stopped getting scared of feeling inferior because I didn't know anything. That's when I started meeting developers, and that really helped me out a lot to kind of get a little bit more confidence and stuff. So anytime, man, anytime. What about back end, says Bishop. What about back end, Bishop? They are both equally employable. I do a lot of front end stuff now, but everything I do on the front end requires a back end. So for every application or feature that I work on the front end there's somebody else working on the back end component to that feature. So there's just as much work out there on the back end as there is front end, or if you want to go full stack, you can do full stack as well, man. So that is all to the good. In any way, like that Java stuff he was talking about, that's definitely great back end. What back end language do I like to use? Um, I personally do most stuff on the back end in Node just because it's JavaScript and I'm in the same ecosystem. So, I don't have to worry about context switching in my mind going between like Java and JavaScript or Python and JavaScript or whatever it is, C++ and JavaScript or anything like that, Ruby and JavaScript. I can stay in the JavaScript world and just write server code and switch right over and write Angular code or front end code, all using the same language, which is kind of the beauty of Node. Now, Node isn't it's not the solution for every problem, but for most, if you're writing a REST API or something, that's not crazy. I would say if I was writing something that was number intensive, then yeah, something like Java or C++ will probably be better at that than JavaScript will, because JavaScript doesn't have a concept of integers. Everything is floating point in JavaScript. So if that makes any sense. So cool. What do you mean by front end and back end also full stack? It says faded. All right, so this is pretty specific to web applications. So when you're building a web application, there's usually, when you're building a web application, there's two computers. There's your computer that's sitting on your desk. Here, let me show you. You want to see what I see my setup every day? So this is, I work the, is this thing knocked out? Yeah, it's knocked out. So, I worked the 2 gigs. So this is job number 2, the new job that I just got. I just went to in and out, if you see my cut right there. And then over here is job number 1 that I got going up there. So there's the code for job number 1. Here's code for job number 2. And then the little book. And that's my little setup. And here's where I put my paper junk stuff and all that stuff up. So you've got your computer that's sitting on your desk, right? And then your computer, when you go to Amazon.com or Google.com or whatever it is, your computer on your desk is going out and it's talking to Amazon's computer or Google's computer in their data center somewhere. Your computer on your desk is called the client, and then the computer at Amazon or Google is called the server. So what you see on your screen, the stuff that you have on your screen, this is front end stuff. That's got a privacy protector on it, so you can't see the code. This one doesn't though. So the stuff that's on your screen is all the visual stuff is like front end. So there are people out there that make that the visual stuff that you see on your screen is typically called front end code. And then when you ask for something from the computer at Amazon or Google, when I'm on Amazon and I want to do Amazon Prime Video, right? And I click on a video on my screen. What I click on is the front end. That's the UI or the user interface. I click on that. That sends a message over to Amazon's computer or server and says, I want to watch movie XYZ. And Amazon's computer says, okay, I'm going to go into the hard drive. I'm going to find movie XYZ. Here's that thing. I'm going to start up a stream and I'm going to spit that data back to this computer on my desk, and it's going to start playing. So this is the back end code that goes and finds the stuff that I'm asking for and sends it back to me. And then the front end code on my computer displays it for me. So that's what front end and back end is. So they're constantly talking back and forth. Everything you're doing, whether you're on your cell phone right now or using your computer on your desk, there's front end code, which is what you see, what you visually see and what you interact with. And then that talks to a server which has back end code on it, which does in the business, you'll hear them say the business logic of a business is on the server and the back end code. So what happens when a user clicks on this? And then the business logic will figure out, okay, here's what they really want. Let me go get what they want and spit it back to them. So that's front end and back end. Yeah. Torn between deep diving into Node or Python. Want to learn both though. There's nothing wrong with learning both. I mean, they will both they'll both get you work. So Python has always been popular. There's a company here in Vegas that runs their whole back end is written in Python. So there's work here in Vegas for Python developers. Python is also very popular with data scientists as well. So if you want to get into like big data companies and stuff like that, knowing Python will get you in the door pretty quickly there as well. Node is kind of the sports car, I would say, of the hot little sports car, not hatchback, but what do you call it when you take the roof off? Convertible. Where a lot of startups will use Node and stuff to get stuff off the ground really quickly, you know. So it just depends on what you want to do, where you want to code. Front end, back end, boom, boom, boom. All right, I think I hit everybody's questions up. That's perfect. We're right at 30 minutes. That's a good time. And I think my kid will be here soon. All right, any more questions? Or I'm going to wrap this thing up, man. Nope. No more questions? All right, cool. I'm going to wrap this thing up. I just wanted to jump on right quick. I haven't made a video. I'll go ahead and post this one. Post this one up and let you see what's going on. I did, I moved in this place. Yeah, man. No problem, Faded. Anytime. Let me close this off. Got this thing going, man. Yeah, anytime, man. I take a little break from working, and I just need to get my mind away from code for a minute. If I get stuck on a problem, I need to get my mind off of code, and doing these live things is one way that I can do that. Just get out and talk to a couple folks and get stuff going. So I'll do them from time to time. Make sure you hit the bell so you'll get notified of when I go live. I kind of like the live things. I'm still gonna do regular videos, but I kind of like the live format too, because I like being able to interact and answer questions kind of live on the spot like that. So appreciate y'all. If there ain't no more questions, I'll talk to y'all next time. Peace.